Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Apples and Ginos Fantasy Hockey Podcast, the podcast you come to when you're finally ready to take fantasy hockey seriously. My name is Nate Groot-Niblink. I'm the creator of Apples and Ginos, originator of the Zero-G Draft Strategy. In this episode, Blake and I are going to tell you how to win in Week 17 of the fantasy season. Let's get it. And of course, I have your friend and my best friend. It's Blake Creamer. Blake, how are you feeling tonight?
Oh, yeah. I'm buzzing, buddy. Oh, man. Nate and I are doing a two-a-day here. We did an awesome interview here this morning, which will be released on Sunday. So make sure you get your biscuits over to the Apples and Ginos page, wherever you consume your content, and check out this amazing interview. We got an awesome guest. But yeah, buddy, it's good to see you 2 times in one day. Man, what a huzzah. This is a banner day for me. Do you ever, as Sunday sort of approaches, like because of fantasy hockey, start to get a little bit more stressed? Do you ever do that?
Oh, yeah.
Like if you have close matchups and like it starts affecting like the way you are with your kids, you know, you're like, get the hell upstairs. Like, I hate you. And you're like, no, no, that never happens. But yeah, I always find myself sometimes when I have close matchups, which I do this week, I get a little bit on edge. Is that something you experience as well?
Well, usually I'm winning all of mine by so much that it doesn't really happen.
Didn't have to do me like that.
No, I definitely relate to that feeling. Yeah, it's actually this week is going quite well. I've relayed on this podcast that the last couple of weeks have not been my friend, but this week is finally looking like light at the end of the tunnel. Don't want to jinx too much, but yeah, things are turning around. Everything's coming up, Nate. Everything is also coming up. Newsies. Blake, take it away.
Newsies! Wow, unbelievable stuff here by Nathan Groot-Niblink. This guy jacks you up. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Let's get into the Newsies here. Feels like a little while since we've done the Newsies. There's been lots of stuff happening, but we'll give you the bits and pieces, right, Nate? Yeah, I know. We'll give you the twigs and berries. Okay? William Nylander of the Toronto Maple Leafs, hopeful to start skating again this weekend as per Craig Berube. Nice stuff. Still no timeline for his return, though. Man, they need him back in the lineup. Stolars look terrible tonight. What the hell is going on? But yeah, I think Leafs have been playing better as of late. So you get Nylander back in there. Now we're cooking. In Anaheim, the Ducks, those, ducks skating out on the ice. You got ducks out there with the little skates and the little wrap around the bill. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Why? I still don't understand. Okay. And I know like this is an inside joke here we have here at Apples and Ginos, but a duck? I mean, we're talking ice hockey. A duck? And who signed off on this? I don't know, Walt Disney, I guess. R.I.P. No, he wasn't a very good person. Anyways, let's move on there. We're talking about the Ducks. Mason McTavish, he's out with an upper body injury. Sounds like he's returned to Anaheim for treatment, and he's making good progress as per Coach Q, but it doesn't sound like he's going to return to the team during this road trip anyways, so it doesn't sound too serious. Expect him back maybe when Anaheim gets back. Troy Terry is still out too, dealing with an upper body injury as well. We don't have an update there. Anaheim looks like they're going to win the game tonight, though. Lucas Dostal. What the hell's this man been eating? My God. He's been amazing lately. Gets another win here tonight. Sounds like a 4-2 win over the Kraken. The Kraken have been released. So that's good. I don't know why I'm still talking about the Ducks. Let's move on over to Carolina. Nothing could be finer. Shane Gostisbehere, hopeful to return before the Olympic break after missing the last several games, dealing with a groin injury. You got to get that fixed, my man. Okay. There's doctors for this sort of thing. So, yeah, you do have Alexander Nikishin out there in power play 1, but he's being severely limited by RBA at even strength, which is pretty rough stuff because he's a fantasy stud if he can get some time on ice out there. So anyways, I need Gostisbehere back. I've got him in a couple spots. And again, that's all that matters, right? Not the man's health, my fantasy teams, right, Nate?
Absolutely.
Yep. Over to San Jose, Igor Chernyshov sent down by the Sharks after a nice showing with the big boys. What do you? I'm interested in your thoughts on that player, Nate, because from what I saw and from what I was hearing from Ryan Warsofsky and people surrounding the Sharks franchises, it sounded like they were going to keep him up and they liked what they were doing there. And I guess they're just kind of getting healthy, and he's sort of the odd man out. But what do you think about that player moving forward?
Yeah, I think we did see something to take note of when Chernyshov was up. Obviously, it feels like Michael and Celebrini could have chemistry with the brick wall, and so you don't want to just assume that anyone who scored a few goals because they played with him is actually really, really good. But Chernyshov also produced a little bit away from Celebrini when he was moved down the lineup, and so there was a few bits and pieces there that I liked. I think that Chernyshov has a little bit of something to offer here, and I would be pretty interested if he came back. Obviously, I want him to play alongside Celebrini for any extended fantasy relevance, but I am pretty interested in the player. This is a guy who had like a legit prospect profile as well, and there's a reason he was called up. So yeah, I'm still pretty in on the player overall.
Yep, absolutely. I'm interested just checking him out when he gets called back up to the squad here. Let's move over to Long Island. Okay, we got Bo Horvat. He's likely to return on Saturday. It looks like he was taking part in some line rushes there in practice on Friday. Check his status, though. Could be a game time decision, but I think he'll probably play, get back in the lineup there. And yeah, they sorely need him. That power play has been gross. So and they're doing like a 1A, 1B. Got Barzal on power play 2 now. I hate when coaches do this. Just put your best players out on the ice. It's not that hard, is it, Nate? I mean, what do we know that they don't know? Should we switch places?
I don't know that we could successfully coach an NHL power play, but I do think that we could successfully put the best players out on the ice every time.
Yeah, we'll just moneyball it. I feel like you and I could do that. I'll be Jonah Hill, all right? You can be Brad Pitt, obviously, right? For the comparisons. Let's move on. Detroit, Simon Edmondson. I should have looked that up. He's a late scratch on Thursday's game, which sucked because I got him in 3 spots, right? Took warm-ups, didn't feel right, so they held him out, but he could be available for Saturday's game. So check his status as well. Get ready to activate. I think he's been a fine 4th or 5th kind of depth defenseman for your fantasy squads. He's good blocks guy, getting the odd point here. Did get a goal the other night against all odds. So thank you, my man. Really appreciate that. Matt Boldy, the Minnesota Wild, could be an option on Saturday against the Panthers. He's missed the last 4 games with a lower body injury. Sounds like he felt good last practice, so get ready to activate him as well. Make a plan, all right, because I think he is going to jump back in the lineup. I think he wanted to get back in last game, but because they put him on IR, he wasn't able to do that. So check your rosters there. Over to LA. Anze Kopitar sounds like he's going to travel with the Kings here on their road trip. Could be getting close to a return. Still no timeline, but when he does return, I think he'll be a serviceable fantasy option, right? Streamer level probably at this point, right? With what the Kings offense looks like, but he's still going to be top 6, power play 1 most likely. And then that's a currency here, especially at this point in the season. So check out Anze Kopitar. And lastly, Josh Doan, the dog. Josh Doan. Actually, funny story. When I used to live in New West, which is just a little suburb here in Vancouver, there was when we lived there was a car on the street, and he had a personalized license plate that said DA space DAWG. Da dog. So every time we drove by, no matter what was going on, even if I was mid conversation with my wife, I would scream at the top of my lungs, da dog. Right. And it led to a lot of counseling sessions. And we got close to a separation, but we've reconciled and it feels good. Anyways, Josh Doan, the dog, signed a $7 million deal, just under $7 million deal with the Sabres, secured the bag. Really nice stuff for a player that I think it's a nice swing for the Sabres to take. This is a guy that obviously has a lot of talent and some things that maybe weren't expected, right? He's a guy that is playing up the lineup now, and maybe that wasn't what the Sabres even thought they were getting when they picked up Josh Doan. So that's really nice. What do you think a ceiling case is for a player like Josh Doan, just in his career, maybe this season and in his career? Because right now he's line 1, power play 1, limited even strength ice time there. But what do you think of this player?
Yeah, I think you don't have to look very far to see a potential ceiling case for Josh Doan. I think you look at a guy like Alex Tuck and you see a little bit of some similarities. their defensive game and how much they might be trusted by a coach, especially as Josh Doan grows into this role here in Buffalo. I really do think that this could be a guy who is trusted in all situations and ends up playing 19 minutes a night in his prime. And so, yeah, I think you could look at what Alex Tuck has been able to do over the last number of years. Maybe not the extreme block numbers, but a lot of the other stuff. And you could draw a pretty similar parallel there with Mr. Josh Doan.
Love to see it. Good genes with this man. Loved Shane Doan. He's epic player there. Shout out to him, buddy. Let's get into the Week 17 schedule. We got to attack it.
Let's tack that schedule. Starting off with the weekly rundown. Monday, we got 5 games. Tuesday, 10 games. Wednesday, 3 games. Thursday, we have 15 games. Friday, just 1 game. Saturday, 14 games, and Sunday, 3 games. Obviously, a little bit thinner on the streaming potential here. There are 51 total games played. It's a normal week in terms of the actual number of games being played. There's one team with a Sunday Monday back to back here. That's going to be Anaheim. So if you get an Anaheim streamer in for the Sunday, they'll also get that Monday for you, get you a little head start on the week. 3 teams with a Monday Tuesday back to back to open the week: Boston, LA, and Utah. 4 teams with Monday Wednesday off nights: Columbus, New York Islanders, New York Rangers, and Philadelphia. There's only 1 team with Wednesday, Friday off nights, and that's Columbus. There are no teams that play both Friday and Sunday, so no way to easily avoid that 14-game Saturday. The schedule looks a little bit something like this, courtesy of Frozen Tools if you're watching on YouTube. There's not a lot going on here. You've got LA has an interesting schedule, obviously, with 5-game week. So that's something to keep an eye on for fantasy purposes. But outside of that, like, you got Columbus here with 3 off nights. So I guess you can get into that. But I think we should move right along, Blake. I think we should lower some expectations.
You bet, big dog. Let's lower those expectations, folks. Okay. Yeah, we've this is going to be a tough streaming week, that's for sure, especially with the back half of the week there. No Friday, Sunday to avoid that Saturday. It's going to be rough. You're going to be benching some players, and yeah, we're going to be commiserating all those bench points that we left out there, but that's fine. Let's talk about the worst teams to stream here and potential drops off of these teams. And there are some clear losers in this area here. We've got Calgary and Pittsburgh, both with only 2 games, both on the heavy nights, and they're later in the week. So Pittsburgh and Calgary both play Thursday and Saturday. So that's a 15-game Thursday, 14-game Saturday. Any streamers off of Calgary and Pittsburgh, you bounce them, right? And we're looking at some of their better players too, especially on Calgary. So I'm interested to get your take here, Nate. Starting with Calgary, we got a player that has been a little bit of a discussion here in the last little bit, just due to his inability to put the biscuit in the basket. Nazem Kadri, right? I mean, he did score the other night, but it hasn't gone to plan here. This is a guy that is usually a metrics guy, but he hasn't been getting it done. We got Mikhail Backlund, you got Jonathan Huberdeau, Matt Coronado. I mean, those are the players that I think we're talking about potentially dropping. And then anyone below that, I think you're definitely dropping. A guy like Connor Zary, who had a good streaming week here this week. I mean, I picked him up at a couple spots, but I think, where are you at? Like, what's that drop line here with these players?
Yeah, I'm honestly okay with dropping just about everybody on Calgary. I would hang on to Uyghur at this point, but honestly, that might be end of list right now. I did drop Nazem Kadri in the shallowest league that I'm in, still a 12 team, but the shallowest league overall. He scores the goal, and you're like, okay, the monkey's
I
off the
know.
back. Things are going to go well. Next 2 games comes out with a couple of donuts, not a lot of shots still. Nothing has really changed in terms of the underlying numbers here with Kadri. And so, yeah, I do think you can just drop him at this point. If the underlyings come back up, if he starts to fire the puck again, then maybe we're back in on Kadri, and we'll be telling you to pick him right back up. But this has been ongoing for a while
Yeah.
now. This is not like just a cold week that we see players go through, or a cold even couple of weeks. This is like a month-long stretch where Nazem Kadri has just found it impossible to get pucks to the net, which is not something he's ever struggled with throughout his career. So that's a big problem for me at the moment. So I think you can drop anybody not named Mackenzie Weegar on Calgary for this week.
Yeah. Sad state of affairs there in Calgary, at least in terms of offensive generation. They're doing nothing out there, and their power play is dead last in the league. So yeah, I think it's an easy drop there. Isn't that funny though? Keep everybody but Uyghur, and even Uyghur, we're like, I don't know, But hold on, I'm holding out hope for Zane Parekh. Get Zane Parekh in here. Let's get him on the power play and see what's what. But he's still in the AHL in a conditioning stint. So there you go. Easy peasy with Calgary there. Let's talk about Pittsburgh though. Different options here that maybe are a little bit harder to or you'll have to think about it a little bit more. And we're looking at players like Chris Letang, who lost some value there with Carlson coming back off of IR. You got Anthony Mantha, Justin Brazeau, still doing the thing. It's crazy stuff. I mean, Mantha's pacing for 56 points. Justin Brazeau's pacing for 55 points. I didn't have that on my bingo card, going into the season, especially with the limited sort of role that they have in terms of ice time and power play time. So what are you doing with, those three players, Letang, Mantha, and Brazeau? Let's start there.
Yeah, I think you can let all of them go if they are that kind of last player on your roster. Mantha has 5 points in his last 5 games, so it's not, based on results necessarily, but still getting very little minutes, and that's never going to be an easy thing to overcome on a consistent basis. And we are looking for a little bit more consistency than that when talking about the potential guys to stream here. So, yeah, I'm just not going to be head over heels for a guy under 14 minutes a night, and so that's kind of where I'm at there. With Letang, I don't think we're going to getting a whole lot of that power play time that we were getting before with Letang, and he's just kind of in that group of guys who can be good. He's also a little banged up, and so yeah, if Letang needs to go to make room on your roster, I think you can drop him and get a bunch of other guys who will be pretty similar. Yeah, right now Chris Letang still considered day to day. Has missed the past couple games, but probably by next week we're talking about him back in the lineup. So if he does come back to the lineup and you need to drop him, I think you can. Justin Brazeau, I really want to like Justin Brazeau. He's got 4 points his last 5. His underlying numbers actually look really, really good, especially his individual stuff. But again, under 13 minutes a night, can't hang on.
Yep. Makes total sense to me. How about Gino Malkin? My God, I read a report the other day that he wants to come back for another season. I mean, who expected the Pittsburgh Penguins to be as good as they are right now, and with one of the hottest goalie tandems in the league, Archer Shelovs and Stuart Skinner? What? There's this little thing when there's no gravity on, or and you're in a situation with no gravity. What do you call that, Nate?
Zero G.
Zero G. All right, let's move on. Sorry. It's a great strategy, folks. You should check it out. Let's move on to the next team here, Ottawa. They also play 2 games, but they have 1 off night. Wow, thank you, Ottawa. That's amazing. They play Wednesday against Colorado. Dear God. Okay, I don't know. I don't think you can hold on to any of these Ottawa players for that Wednesday game either. Like, what are you expecting? I don't know. Like, we're looking at players like Dylan Cousins, Thomas Chabot, Claude Giroux, the Pinto Bean, Shane Pinto. I'm not dropping him. I don't care what happens. He can play a 0-game week, and I'm keeping him on my roster. But yeah, talk to me about. I think Cousins is the one, and Chabot actually. They're players that I'm trying to hold on to, but it's going to be tough this week. And then Giroux and Pinto, I think, are you can bounce them to the curb pretty easily.
Yeah, agreed on Giroux and Pinto. Chabot and Cousins are definitely a tougher discussion. Cousins on power play 1. Chabot obviously going to get big minutes. I mean, Ottawa has not been great. That's another piece of this puzzle. 3-5-2 in their last 10, losing some games in pretty awful fashion,
Yeah.
coughing up leads, etc., etc. I think I agree in general. Like, I'm trying to hang on to Cousins, who does have 7 points in his last 5. I'm trying to hang on to Chabot, who has 4 points in his last 5. But again, I don't know that these are guys you have to hang on
Yeah.
to, especially if you're like in a 10-team league. Then for sure it gets easier and easier to drop them just because of who else might be available, or maybe they even just don't get picked up for the week and you can pick them back up after that if you want to. Cousins has some really good underlying numbers going at the moment, which is making me want to hang on to him even more. He does kind of do this where he has great underlying numbers for a couple weeks and then it goes away pretty pretty terribly for another couple weeks.
Yep.
So I am always cognizant of that with Cousins. But yeah, it's pretty hard to drop him at the moment when things are going so well for him individually.
At least hold him for that Wednesday, right? See what he can do against the Avs. If he gives you a performance there, you get him in the lineup for Saturday. Saddle up, partner. You're playing on the busy Saturday. I don't know. I don't have Cousins anywhere, and I don't want to. Okay. There are also 15 teams that play 3 games with 0 off nights. So yeah, again, the Tuesday is a 10 gamer. So, you might be able to get a player in on that, but the Thursday and Saturday, you got to avoid them if possible. Like, you're going to have players on your bench there. It's going to be rough stuff. So that's what we got for lowered expectations. The expectations have been lowered. Now let's raise them up in a little segment that we call Crossing the Streams. Yeah. Nate and I are still banned from crossing the streams, by the way, right? There's a legal, order, precedent set. We can't do it for a few months, but, we still do it in private. That's fine. But what we've been doing instead is, when we play hockey together, Nate and I, we get our Gatorade water bottles, and do you ever, like at a wedding when like the bride and the groom, they sort of put their arms around each other and then drink the glass together. You know what I'm talking about, Nate? Obviously,
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about. We do it all the time, but I just wanted to put that out there. I mean, it's kind of a poor man's crossing the streams, right? But I do feel, connected to you intimately, right? We stare at each other in the eye, which is also, part of the ritual, right? So yeah, hit us up in the comments if you and your bros or sisses or whatever, or theys, right? You gotta clink the glasses. You gotta put it around. Let us know if you do that. All right. But that's all I got. I'm sorry, Nathan. We got to talk about fantasy hockey. What the hell? See, look at this time we're making right now, Nate. 21 minutes. Damn, we're gonna have a record here.
Getting cocky already.
I know it's a problem. I wanted to go off even more, but I'm gonna keep it short and tight here. All right. Let's talk about the best teams to stream. We got players from these teams as well, and yeah, there's a team that is gonna just bludgeon the other teams here with some volume this week, and it's the LA Kings. They have a 5-game week, which is always nice, especially if you have their top players, right? Who are the top players on the Kings? Kempe, Fiala. Is there anybody else?
No, that's pretty much
No,
it.
yeah. So if you have them, it's going to be a great week for you. But they do only have the 2 off nights, which really stinks. But yeah, LA plays Monday, Tuesday back to back. So if you can get in on the Tuesday, that's nice. But then they play Thursday, Saturday, so you'll probably be sitting your streamers there. And then they do play this Sunday on the 3-game Sunday. So nice stuff. Let's talk about the Kings. You got to check your wire for Brant Clark. If he's out there, like, this guy's getting an increase in minutes, he's getting power play 1 time. I think he's must roster for this week. I think he should make your roster all 5 games, right? As with his talent level and the time on ice that he's getting. Drew Doughty, he's day to day right now. Oh God, I mean, it's rough stuff. Just another Team Canada, legacy ad here. Him and Jordan Binnington are going to fill the water bottles, I think, on the Olympic team there. That's fine. But yeah, Doughty's out there. If he's healthy, I mean, you could do worse, right? You can get him in for those off nights. Alex Laferriere, Big Kuzi, Andrei Kuzmenko, Corey Perry. What do you think about these Kings here? Is there anyone that you're sort of targeting?
Yeah, I mean, if Brant Clark is still available in your league at 50% rostered, what are you doing? But also go get him. LaFerriere, I do have some interest in. I don't know that there's like a line set up that I'd be super excited to see LaFerriere in, but he is playing with Kempe as of late, and that's, I guess, good enough. It's probably the best you can expect, and getting some decent minutes along with that as well. Yeah, you can't really complain about that too much. Corey Perry and Andrei Kuzmenko were on top power play in the last iteration here for the Kings, and so if that continues, you can toss an ad at one of those in your deeper leagues for sure. I want to shout out the people in the deeper leagues because I know there's a bunch of them. Corey Perry actually got some decent minutes here the last little bit too, which is kind of interesting. The metrics are a little better for Kuzmenko. They're not great, but they're a little bit better. He's got
Hey,
3
you watch
points in his
yourself.
last 5. LaFerriere has no points in his last 5, but he is getting over 20 minutes a night. So, yeah, that's why I'd still prefer LaFerriere there. But, yeah, Brant Clark, if he is available, must roster for this week for sure.
Yep, absolutely. I think this is one of those weeks too. You got a team with 5 games and 2 off nights, but I'd rather have a player on the team, next up that we're talking about on Columbus, right? They play 4 games with 3 off nights. And yeah, it's like, because we're talking streamers, right? Like, you should look at it like the 2 off nights, right? That's what you're going to get out of your LA streamers. Whereas with Columbus, they do play 4 games with the 3 off nights. Again, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then you're kind of on your own, right? But let's talk about these Blue Jackets. I had a buy low show where I talked about the silly boy Adam Fantilli. No, damn it. I didn't like it then. I don't like it now. But Adam Fantilli doing stuff under the hood, looking really good, but just not putting the biscuit in the basket. You got Papa Boone Jenner out here. Dmitry Voronkov been moved down to the 4th line. I don't like that. Sean Monahan, Mason Marchment is a guy that I'm interested to hear your take on, because he's getting some good deployment there. The Coiler, Charlie Coyle, filled the bowl for 1,000 games. That's a lot. You know what I mean? Like when you go back and you look at how many times he's filled the bowl, when you add that all together, you're looking at a giant. Where am I going with this? I
I'm
don't
not
know.
sure.
I don't really want to finish that sentence, but anyways, Charlie Coyle's out there. Kent Johnson. He's had some interesting deployment under Rick Bowness, because getting big minutes one game and then playing like 11 minutes and 30 seconds the next game. So that's kind of interesting there. Damon Severson, Ivan Provorov, worst head of hair I've ever seen. Talk to me about the Columbus Blue Jackets and how you're sort of ranking these players.
Yeah, I think up front it's pretty easy. Adam Fantilli has to be the number one guy that you're looking at here. Coming for that title of most hard done by in the league in terms of the luck metrics
I
here.
know.
49th in shots per 60, 85th individual expected goals for per 60 over the last 5 games. Only 2 assists to show for it, over 20 minutes a night. Bonus has put him back on top power play. You mentioned a bunch of this stuff in the Bilo show. People can go back and check that out, and they should. 8.8% shooting percentage. Like all the luck metrics are just so horrifically low for Fantilli, especially given the stuff that he's doing for the Blue
Yeah.
Jackets. And not just in terms of like raw shots, like he has actually taken a pretty legitimate step in my mind. If you go and look at the all 3 zone stuff from Corey Schneider, in terms of the micro stats, it really does pop off the page how much he's improved in a lot of areas this year. So yeah, I think Fantilli is really taking that step. If it kind of keeps up this way for the rest of the season, maybe we're going to be touting him as the big sleeper of next year. That could be a scenario that I could see happening, but more likely than not, he does have a little bit of a glow up here over the last 30 plus games of the season, and we get some really good weeks, and I'm hoping it starts this week for us rostering him in our fantasy leagues. Across the other guys, like you can look at the guys who are going top power play. If you want to just focus on that, you can go with Kent Johnson. You can go with Charlie Coyle. They did kind of 1A, 1B this situation a little bit in the last game. They only really had the one power play, so that's probably not something you want to read too much into. But yeah, Boone Jenner, Sean Monahan, Mason Marchment were on the second unit with Severson and Provorov on the back end. I think that more likely than not, Bonus will kind of lean on that top unit, and I think he'll leave them together for a little bit here. So I do think that the deployment is probably safe for a little bit, especially if they can find the back of the net. But the Columbus power play has been pretty inept for most of the year, so I wouldn't count on that too much either. I do not mind that Boone Jenner, Sean Monahan, Kent Johnson line. If that stays together,
Yep.
I'd be interested in anybody playing on that line a little bit. Obviously, Boone Jenner, if you're playing in Bangers Cats or a points league that rewards those peripherals a little bit more, then you can look that way as well. I like Mason Marchment here. I mean, playing with Marchenko and Fantilli is obviously the best deployment you can get. He's not playing on the top power play, but that could change at some point as well here. So I do like Mason Marchment, probably the best of all the people not named Adam Fantilli here, just because I think there's the most upside with that pick for the week. And obviously, your streamers, they're the edges of your lineup, right? Like they're probably not going to be the reason you lost if they don't perform, but they can be the reason you win if they really pop off. And I think Mason Marchment, aside from Adam Fantilli, is probably the guy on the Jackets with the biggest potential to do that.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Sorry, I thought there was more. Did you? Yeah. That's. I don't care if you talked about Damon Severson. That's fine.
Sorry, I
Yeah.
did kind of
I was
just
like
leave that one
Severson and
hanging out
Provorov. I'm
there.
like, whatever.
Yeah.
That's fine. See, I was intently watching you, Nathan. All right. Yeah, that's fine. I think Severson and Provorov, whatever. If you need those off nights, like they can chip away and get you some points, or periffs if you're in a category league. I think both are fine options in that capacity. Let's move on to the next tier of teams. We got 4 teams that play 4 games with 2 off nights. They are Boston, the New York Islanders, the New York Rangers, and the Philadelphia Flyers. So let's get into that. Starting with Boston, they play Monday, Tuesday. So again, hopefully you can get a player in on that 10-game Tuesday. That'd be really nice. Then they play Thursday, and then not again until Sunday, right? So it could be a week-long stream if you want to play the long game there with Boston. They've got some good options out here. We got Pavel Zacha, we got Elias Lindholm, both on power play 1, really nice spot. And you got at the party, Victor Arvidsson popping the hell off. I can't wait to hear you talk about this, man. And then you've also got Murat Kuznetsov. Oh shoot, is that it? Kuznetsov?
Kuznetsov, yeah.
Kuznetsov. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, so he's out there and getting some reasonable even strength deployment there. I think he's top line with Lindholm and Pasternak, so that'll play. So talk to me about how you're ranking the Bruins here, and that Bruins power play. I should mention is pretty damn good. They're 5th overall in goals for per 60 there, so that's a nice spot to be.
Yeah, I mean, the Bruins have been one of the biggest surprises of the year. We kind of talked about them a little bit on the environment segment of the flagship show there earlier this week. You can go back and check that out. But I think for a week here, you can definitely get into some of these guys. Victor Arvidsson first in league in shots per 60, playing under 15 minutes a night, though.
I
Like,
know. Come on.
I want to be in. I do really want to be in on Victor Arvidsson, but it really does seem like he's not in line for that top power play anytime soon. He's playing on the Zacha middle stat line, which is like fine, I guess, but definitely nothing to write home about. I don't think those guys are going to raise the ceiling of a Victor Arvidsson season. So, yeah, I think in your deeper leagues, in your 14 team plus, your deeper 12 team leagues, you can definitely look at Arvidsson, especially if the Boston schedule fits with you. Kuznetsov has been the guy getting the top line deployment alongside Lindholm and Pasternak. So obviously that's interesting for that reason. But the problem is his underlying metrics are just horrific, basically. And so if he gets moved off that line, which is pretty likely, then you'll just be left with absolutely nothing. So that's a tough ask in terms of picking him up for the week or even for a subset of the week, because it could go away in game and it could just be a complete zero. Pavel Zacha is probably the guy along with Elias Lindholm, although I think Lindholm's probably rostered in a lot of spots here.
Yeah.
Both of those two, if they're available, are totally fine options. Some might say even cromulent options for the week. I don't think they're necessarily exciting. Lindholm does have 5 points in the last 5 games. That guy's 4. Lindholm's getting 19 and a half minutes a night, a lot of that alongside Pasternak, so obviously that's a good place to play. Zacha is actually upped its shots as of late, 34th in shots per 60, but playing under 16 minutes a night is on top power play, but, you know, it's just a little bit harder to stomach taking a guy who's not on the Pasternak line at even strength and getting less than 16 minutes a night on the Boston Bruins. So that's where I'm at with those Bruins.
Yep. I like Zacha a lot. I do like Zacha. I mean, hopefully those minutes go up though for sure. And I'll take a ride with the RV. I mean, that's nice. Also, I love that word cromulent. I love that you keep bringing it back. It reminds me of like Star Trek. You know what I mean? Like, but more like set a
The
course to the crom.
Romulans?
No, well, yeah, actually, maybe that's why. I'm not even. This is how my brain works, but I'm thinking more like set a course to the cromulent system. Warp 9. Engage, right? The cromulent system. What does cromulent mean again? Is it like just mid? Is that kind of what it means?
Yeah, pretty much. It's like a
Yeah.
perfectly acceptable
Yeah,
option.
the perfectly acceptable system. Let's head down there. Let's check the sites, right? Let's go to Ryza. You ever watch Star Trek The Next Generation, right? Ryza is basically like Vegas in Star Trek. You go down there and anything goes, right? You know what I'm talking about, Nathan? I don't know. I went to Vegas one time and like I literally just went to like an all-you-can-eat buffet and then I went to my room. You know what I mean? Like that's what was going on. I'm like, you want to go see Cirque du Soleil? I'm like, nah, no, I'm good. Yeah, it's too hot, right? Anyways, let's move on. Talk about the New York Islanders. Nate's giving me nothing here, folks. All right, he's giving me a blank. That's fine. The Islanders play nice start to the week here as well. Monday, Wednesday, so you love that. They play Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So Islanders would be a great way to start your week, right? Get those off nights in, and we're looking at the ass man, Emil Heineman. You got Anders Lee, you got JG Pajot, right, and you got Duclair. He's out there. And he's been playing really well as of late. So I wonder what his role is going to look like with Horvat back in the lineup. Talk to me about these Islanders.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really want to, if I'm being honest. I'm not excited about anything really that's going on here.
The
Maybe
ass man?
Horvat, maybe Horvat brings some of that back. Heineman is getting over 18 minutes a night, so obviously that's something. He's only got a couple points in the last five, 83rd shots per 60, 172 individual expected goals for per 60. Anders Lee, 3 points in the last five, 17 minutes a night, 26 shots per 60, 60th individual expected goals for per 60. 122nd in on ice expected goals for per
Yep.
60, but first in on ice scoring chances for per 60 over the last five. Anders Lee kind of does that, and then his luck metrics just never get lucky, and so he ends up having terrific metrics and just being kind of one of these net front guys that has great metrics but pretty low efficiency. So Anders Lee, like, yeah, you can stream him. I Again, I'm not going to be super excited about ever rostering, honestly, any of these Islanders. Like Heineman, I think has the most potential, but I'm still not sure if he maybe falls into a little bit more of that low efficiency category as well. We obviously don't have a lot of data on him just because this is really the first season we're getting that on him. Anthony Duclair has 5 goals in the last 5 games, so that's something. The underlying numbers are not bad here. 49th individual expected goals for per 60, 17th individual scoring chances for per 60, 10th in on ice expected goals or scoring chances for per 60. So there are some bits and pieces there with Anthony Duclair. I think that it's just as likely to go away next week as it is to stick around. We mentioned like the potential splitting of the power play units,
Yeah.
and that would take away a little bit of the excitement potentially from Duclair. But it was that Duclair Barzell Lee line that was going together, and so if that sticks together, then I could see Duclair potentially being the guy with the most excitement for the upcoming week here from this relatively unexciting New York Islanders team.
No, I can tell you're absolutely riveted here with these New York Islanders. I wonder, like, when they have Schaefer, so at least they, we're excited about that. I love Matt Barzell too, so shout out to them. But yeah, the rest of this team, bunch of spare parts. Let's be honest
Only
about
the
that.
people, only the people called Matt on the Islanders are we
Right.
interested in.
Exactly. Yeah. If your name's not Matt, get the hell out of my sight. Okay. We got to move on, Nathan. We got to talk about what the hell's the next team? The New York Rangers. Okay. So, yeah, man, the Rangers are rough right now. It feels like they're giving up a goal in the first minute of every game. That they're playing. It's going from bad to worse there. Obviously, without Shesterkin, the wheels are falling off, and it's rough to watch. But there's still some fantasy assets there. I mean, choices you can make. I sound like you talking about the Islanders. So yeah, we got Will Cooley out here. I've got him in one spot. I'm holding because the Periffs have a lot of weight in that league. So, he's got a really solid floor there, but the offensive numbers falling off a cliff. He's not really doing that. 2 points in his last 5 and terrible metrics, which you'll get into. And then Alexis Lafreniere. Nice, some points in the last little bit here, but again, it just feels like this is a sinking ship here on the Rangers, and his name's been bandied about in trade talks a little bit here. So, are you interested in either one of those players on the Rangers, Nate?
I'd like to be, but honestly, no. Obviously, the Rangers have been just one of the most vexatious teams in the entire league for the majority of the season. Cooley, 2 points in his last 5. Lafreniere, 4 points in his last 5. Lafreniere still getting some run alongside Panarin. So for as long as Artemi Panarin is a New York Ranger, then I guess you might be interested in Lafreniere playing there with him. Cooley did get, they tried a 5 forward power play again for one game there, and Cooley got on that. And then in this game, they went straight back to Vladislav Gavrikov on the point, and obviously that did nothing. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I can't say I'm excited about either of these guys. Nothing pops off the page in terms of the underlying metrics. Cooley playing on the third line with a bunch of nobodies. Not going to be exciting for fantasy, but yeah, if you need hits, Will Cooley provides that in spades for sure.
Vexatious, causing or tending to cause annoyance, frustration, or worry.
I
Nice
think that
job, Nathaniel.
describes the Rangers, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
you know what? It describes him to a T. So well done to you. I will say, Gavrikov in a deep league. I'll take a ride there. Like if he's getting power play one, like he provides some blocks and he could just walk into some points. The Rangers power play isn't terrible, right? So yeah, I don't mind Gavrikov, but Lafreniere, I'm not rushing out to pick him up, that's for sure. And I'm holding Cooley, like I said. Anyways, last team we want to talk about 4 games, 2 off nights. The Philadelphia Flyers again. Monday, Wednesday, great start to your week. Then they play the Thursday, Saturday. So with Philly, we're looking at Matvey Michkov, Travis Sanheim, Owen Tippett, just a hat trick against me in one spot. Oh, buddy, I don't need that. Christian Dvorak, Jamie Drysdale, the Brink truck, Bobby Brink. Talk to me about the Flyers. How are you ranking these guys?
Yeah, I mean, might have to re-rank the Flyers after this showing against Colorado randomly, where they pop off for 7 goals. I honestly don't think that's gonna keep going in the future, but it did happen, so you can't really deny that, I guess. Yeah, it's a spot where I think you're looking at the same guys as always. Mishkov had a nice night here, still no minutes for him.
Yeah.
Tippett had a huge game. He is prone to do that and then disappear for another month. Um, right now, you could try to stay hot with Owen Tippett because it does seem like he's feeling it. His underlying numbers are pretty good going into this game, 22nd shots per 60. So he was doing stuff before this. So yeah, maybe this is the start of a little run for Tippett. He does get on runs like this, so wouldn't be too mad about that one. Definitely the guy I'd be looking at the most, I think, from this Flyers squad. Christian Dvorak would be the other one in contention there, just for the Zegras exposure. Also 19 and a half minutes average time on ice, which is pretty solid stuff. 105th shots per 60, 44th individual expected goals for per 60 over the last 5 games. Jamie Drysdale and Cam York are the guys on the back end running the power play there. Jamie Drysdale usually playing with the Zegras unit, which usually gets the most ice time. Didn't get the most ice time tonight, but I think that might have been something to do with the score in that game too. So yeah, I think look at Tippett, look at Dvorak. You can look at Sanheim just for, if you need a solid D, who's probably not going to do, he's not going to have a great week, but he might have a good week. And maybe you want that more than you want the potential of some zeros from Jamie Drysdale. So you could definitely look that way. Michkov is a total roll of the dice at this point. Some great underlying numbers again for him, but 14 minutes a night, you're really rolling the dice there.
Dang, I hate to hear that about Michkov. It's been a frustrating year for him and just for fantasy managers in general because we know the talent of the player, but yeah, there's something off there. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I know Talkett's working with them, but yeah, I like your shout for Christian Dvorak as well. I think that's a player of interest, an underrated player, unheralded player. That's been a big part of the success from the Konechny and who's the other guy? Zegras line
Zegras.
there. Yeah. So he's an unheralded player there. I think he kind of makes that work, with his defensive ability and his facilitation there. So shout out to him. Let's move on to just the last set of teams we want to talk about here. Anaheim and Tampa Bay both play 3 games with 2 off nights. And again, the 2 off nights are what we're interested in, right? So Anaheim will start there. Anaheim plays Monday, then they play Thursday, then they play Sunday. So that's really rough. I feel like Anaheim, your streamers, you're going to hold them until the Monday, and then you can probably bounce them and then maybe try and grab them on Sunday again, right? That's kind of a strategy you can use with Anaheim. And the players we're looking at, Mason McTavish. So hopefully he's, potentially back. I mean, he's not traveling with the team, so he could return, but I don't think he's going to be back until potentially this Sunday. So something to keep in mind with Mason McTavish. Troy Terry as well. We don't know what's going on with him. He's on IR, but we do have Beckett Seneca. We do have Mikhail Granlund. I mean, Chris Kreider is out there in some spots. Talk to me about the Ducks because this is a team that I think is had some peaks and valleys for sure, but they're kind of leveling out. It seems to me in the last little bit. Definitely buoyed by some excellent goaltending by Luke Dostal.
Yeah, I think that Dossel getting back on track has definitely given them a baseline to work with. They are so injured up front. Carlson, McTavish, Terry, like you're taking away a
Yep.
huge chunk of that team up front. Still got it done against Seattle tonight. A lot of that due to Cutter Gauthier, who is the best player in the NHL, as we've often mentioned on this podcast.
Yeah.
Beckett Seneca, I think, is pretty interesting. If he's still available in your league, 4 points in the last five before tonight's game. I don't believe he's had any points in this game. I'm
I
going to
don't think
double
so.
check that.
No, he didn't. I would
Yeah,
have
no
known.
points. No points in this one, but I do really like Seneca. His underlying numbers have gotten even better. 19 and a half minutes a night, 27 shots per 60, 31st individual expected goals for per 60, 37th in on ice expected goals for per 60 over the last 5 games. What's not to love with those kind of numbers? Mikael Granlund is basically a volume play at this point, especially with McTavish out night. Now he's just going to get insane minutes, 21 and a half minutes average over the last 5 games. The underlying numbers are not terrific. 173rd shots per 60, 72nd in on ice expected goals for per 60, though, is not too bad. So I don't mind that look either.
Yep, I like that. I like Granlund a lot. And one thing about Seneca, and I will say he only played I think he played 13 something minutes tonight. So I don't like that. Again, a young player. I mean, who are you taking, Seneca or Granlund, if you had to choose?
I think I'd still go Seneca there just because I think the ceiling's higher again. But yeah, I think they're definitely in the same tier.
Yep, I like that. Let's talk about Tampa Bay real quick here. They play the exact same schedule. So Monday, Thursday, Sunday. So again, same strategy you're using for Anaheim, you're using for Tampa Bay. We're looking at Anthony Cirelli, JJ Moser, the Jerk Store, Oliver Bjorkstrand, and Gage Consalves. I mean, are we? Is this what? Oh God, yeah, I don't know. What is he pacing for? 30 points? How about no? I don't know. I'm not really interested in that. But talk to me about the Lightning, Nate.
Yeah, I think Sorelli is the obvious one playing with Kucherov and Hagel. Bjorkstrand's on the top power play, but that hasn't really made a huge difference in terms of what he's
Mhm.
been able to do scoring wise. Gonzalez is playing on the Gensel line, so he's getting a little bit of run there. And, 140th individual expected goals for per 60, 108 on ice expected goals for per 60. He's looking maybe a touch better than Bjorkstrand, even with no power play time there. So if you're looking at Bjorkstrand, you should probably also honestly be looking at Gonsalves. Moser, I think, is interesting just for the 23 minutes a night on a really good team. I don't think that he's likely to have a big week, but he could have a steady week if you just need a defenseman to play on some off nights there. Then you could look at Moser, but definitely Sorelli is the belle of the ball here.
Bell of the ball. Oh yeah, buddy. All right. Well, that's it for crossing the streams. Nate, give us your best Apples and Ginos Patreon pitch. Let's see what you got.
All right, Patreon pitch, $2 a month gets you the supporter tier. APL eligibility will put you on the wait list. If anybody gives up their team, you can have it for those $2 a month. The Apples tier, $8 a month, gets you that APL eligibility, also gets you access to patron only Discord channels and live shows. Also gets you the show notes for our weekend shows, including all of our streamer info that we do in this show right here. It can also get you access to the Apples and Ginos player evaluation tool, in which you can look at Brant Clark's beautiful face and beautiful underlying stats on the season and be gobsmacked at how poor of a coach Jim Hiller is, that he will not allow this man to run free and wild like the stallion that he is. How's that, Blake?
Buddy, I'm slightly aroused. I'm not going to lie about that, but thank you for that, Nate. All right, this is a family program. Let's talk about the Dream Stream, son.
All right, let's talk about some dream streams. This is basically just going to be a list of Columbus players in the order that I like them, so saddle up for that. Adam Fantilli off the top, as we mentioned, has to be number one here. The luck will turn for him at some point. He's doing all the right things. It's going to happen at some point. Why not this week? Mason Marchment, as I mentioned, would probably be my number two, but definitely you're talking about just kind of a big mix of a tier beyond Adam Fantilli here. Marchment, Jenner, Coyle, Johnson, Monahan. That's the way I have it ranked right now, but you could convince me of a lot of different orderings of these Columbus players. Obviously, they're at the top here for those 3 off nights. If you're getting beyond that, then if I'm just looking at pure off nights, Seneca would be up there for me. Elias Lindholm and Pavel Zacha, who we mentioned from Boston, I'm getting some power play time there with Pasternak, and then Mikhail Granlund, who we mentioned as well, there from Anaheim. Any bones to pick with my rankings here, Blake?
No, not really. I'm actually surprised how many good streamers there are for Columbus. These are, oops, drop something. These are players that can actually do something for fantasy. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting week. Hopefully, you choose correctly. I think this is the correct order.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those weeks you got to just pick up whoever fills the lineup because off nights are at a premium this week for sure. In terms of hits, definitely you're starting with the Blue Jackets again. Matthew Olivier is a huge option here, 4.9 hits per game over the last 14 days. So if he's available and you need some hits, then that is obviously the one to go with. Adam Fantilli's been doing this even more as of late, 2.7 hits over his last 14 days. Boone Jenner, 2.3. Eric Goodbranson, 1.7. If you don't need the off nights particularly, you can fit them in on the heavy nights. Then you can look at Garnet Hathaway, Keegan Colasar, both with 4.9 hits in their last 14 days as well. Will Cooley, if you're going to Los Angeles to try to get the extra 5 games here, Alex Laferriere is a great option, 2.7 hits in his last 14 days. Jack McBain, Jeremy Lauzon, Tanner Janot, Lawson Krause. I made a huge list of all the players with great hit numbers. So if you're a patron, you will have access to that. But those are some of the top guys there. Best for blocks, Damon Severson. This is something that he's been doing and doing a lot of lately. 3.0 hits, or blocks rather, in his last 14 days here. Goodbranson, Provorov, also pretty good options for blocks. Again, if you don't need the off nights, you can look at a guy like Mikey Anderson there in LA, Cam York, Ian Cole, Adam Pelech, Andrew Peak. These are all decent block options, although I wouldn't say any of those are knocking my socks off. Anything to say about the beefers here, Blake?
No, I mean this is a lot of beef. This is a baron of beef. All right, and yeah, I mean hopefully I think you have a better chance of getting some of these defensemen in on some of these busy nights. So hopefully you can enjoy this beef. This prime rib aged. I'm sorry about this, Nate. All right, carry on. Tell us about the next part.
All right, let's talk about the hold me guys. These are guys that I want to hold the way that Shane Hollander wants to hold Ilya Rozanov. Number one on the list, still Patrick Kane, but should we talk about the Zucchini Man? Up to 22% on Yahoo, still probably the biggest disrespect in all of fantasy hockey. Should we put the Zucchini Man over Patrick Kane? Are we ready to say this?
I think so. I think we have to, right? Like
All
it's
right.
the deployment.
Yeah.
I think that's really what brings him over Patrick Kane at this point now.
Number one long term play at forward, 22% rostered. Matt Zuccarello, make it make sense. You can't. Gabriel Landeskog, just keeping him in here so I can talk about him every week once and just to remember what could have been. William Eklund, Adam Fantilli, Jared McCann, Elias Lindholm, Jordan Eberle, Jordan Kyrou, Luke Evangelista, Josh Jones, Anton Lindell, Ryan Leonard, Andre Burakovsky getting a shout here, Mason Marchment, Beckett Seneca, Matt Duchene are rounding it out here for me. Duchene is an interesting case, just like getting minutes now as
Yeah.
well. Still, they're trying to make 3 lines work in Dallas, and they don't have the personnel to do it. Yeah, there's a lot going on there, but I do think he did get a power play point here in this game, and so maybe I have to reevaluate what they're doing with that power play. I think it's just maybe some Rantanen not playing all the time. He lost some weight apparently due to that
Yeah.
illness that he had.
Pretty
So
sick.
yeah, so it's probably a bit more of what it is. It looks like in this game, like that top unit still played the vast majority of the time. So nothing really more to add there. But guy that I think we want to, a few that we probably want to highlight here, Jared McCann. Another goal in this game here tonight. He's just been, this might be like the best season of his career, and it's going just completely unnoticed because he's injured for a good chunk, but he's just been crushing it every second that he's been on the ice all year. So I want to shout out Jerry McCann, Josh Doan, the dog, as we mentioned before,
Dow.
the evangelizer, Luke Evangelista. I just love this player. You've heard me talk about Luke Evangelista for a number of months at this point. I think that he's just terrific. So I'm always going to have time to talk about Luke Evangelista. Anything with this list here, Blake, that you want to highlight?
Yeah, it's a great list. Like, still so much value out there at this point in the season. Really nice to see. One point of interest to me: William Eklund is getting moved down the lineup in San Jose, which is I don't think it's a permanent thing, but it's enough that the coach has actually asked about it. And yeah, he's playing third line power play 2 right now. And it sounds like a little bit of a reset. I guess he's not really, the coach is not really happy with what Eklund's sort of been doing there. So I don't know. I think he'll be back to biz. This is a guy, he's a young player. And I think on that team, San Jose, like he's been expected to do a lot and he's kind of been one of the leaders on that team, but he's still a young guy himself, right? He's still trying to figure some stuff out. So anyways, just keep an eye on William Eklund's deployment. I still think he should obviously be in the hold me section here. It's a player that we should be rostering and has a pretty high ceiling for fantasy.
All right. Don't mind that. Sub 20% rostered category. Evangelista at 11% fits here. Jason Zucker on the top power play there in Buffalo. Mason Marchment. Brock Besser got to go here tonight for Vancouver. And Frank Nazar came back and had a pretty prominent role for Chicago right away. Wasn't on the top power play, but that's something that we might see sooner rather than later as well, especially if Teravainen remains out. So something to watch there. Sub 10% rostered Burakovsky. If he's getting that line one power play one deployment alongside Bedard, we have to be interested in that. Charlie Coyle, Justin Sordiff, who came back from injury and continues to put up points in his return. Kent Johnson, Matthias Michelli, still in that top power play in Toronto. Jonathan Taves, Christian Dvorak, who we mentioned earlier. Jimmy Snuggerud, who I've mentioned, still putting up great numbers under the hood, not being rewarded for it quite yet. Ross Colton, who is out of the game here tonight, but I have to talk about Ross Colton any chance I get. And he had 5 shots in 4 straight games before being held out of this game here tonight. And the Avalanche lost 7-3. So pretty much Ross Colton is the only reason for all of the Avalanche's success this year. I don't think it's disputable at this point. But yeah, Ross Colton was on a heater before getting injured here, so I had to shout him out. Anything you want to say about these lower rostered players here, Blake?
Yeah, I like that, buddy. That's called a correlation, folks. All right. Geez, Ross Colton's metrics off the chain, off the hizzy. But yeah, Frank Nazar is a player that I'm really interested in that I think people forgot about. Like, this guy was really a difference maker early on in the season. And I think once he gets back to full health here, that is going to be a player that I think you're going to want to be in on. He's a guy they ponied up some money for. I think he's going to be a big core part of this team here, kind of as the 2C. And I'm just really into that player a lot. I think he had like 4 or 5 shots here tonight, or in the last game there. So yeah, Frank Nazar, get him on your watch list, get him on your roster. I'm into that guy.
All right. Moving along to the defenseman here. I still reluctantly have John Klingberg atop this list.
It's clinging
He
on.
is moved down to 9% rostered now. But, I mean, still top power play in San Jose, still getting that
Yep.
Macklin Celebrini exposure. It's pretty hard to hate on that. Artem Levshunov has gone through a cold stretch here, but still in power play 1. Shimon Nemec, especially
Shimon.
with the Luke Hughes injury, you have to take a look at Nemec. I think he might be able to get hot. Zane Parekh, Uvis Balinskis, I felt like I had to mention that he's on power play 1 in Florida. I'm not into Balinskis, but I guess break glass in case of emergency type of play there. Sam Malinsky, JJ Moser, Pavel Minchikov, I still have on this list for the guys lower down. One guy that I really want to shout out, though, is Jake Wallman. Points in 4 straight for Jake Wallman. Not a huge role in terms of the even strength stuff. I don't think they're trying to overburden him. He was out for a while. But also, we got the data point that when Draisaitl was out, it was Jake Wallman that was inserted on the top power play. I do think he is the next guy up on the top power play if there are other injuries that might come. And that's obviously pretty exciting for fantasy if you get a chance to be on that Edmonton top power play at all. So, Jake Wallman, 34% rostered, should definitely be much higher and should be higher than a lot of other players like one Drew Doughty at 36% rostered. So just had to mention that there. Talk to me about any of these defensemen. Who's got your eye here, Blake?
Yeah, I mean, I'm into a lot of these guys. These are all sort of depth defenseman pieces. I like your Wallman shutout. He's like a unicorn out there, like big, good goal scorer, big time blocks, like in limited minutes. But again, the data point of him getting on the power play, I'd love to see that. I still love Sam Malinsky. I love to see him at 19% rostered. I don't think that he's really going to pop for fantasy here, but it's just nice to see. Like it's smart people are picking up Sam Malinsky for the chance that he put some points on the board, because he really drives offense, and I think he's a really good player. So shout out to him. And I do want to say one more thing. Shimon Nemec, interesting. I don't know what happened here tonight, but his minutes were way down in the game against the Canucks. He played only 13 minutes, 10 seconds. That show ain't no good. He did get an assist, so that's fine, but he played 16 minutes the game before. So I don't know. I don't like that. Right? This is a player I'm definitely in on if he's getting 20 plus, but if he's getting under 15, damn. I mean, that's a rough go, especially with Luke Hughes out. I'm not sure about that. So anyways, something to keep an eye on.
Definitely. Good shit there. Let's turn it over to the goaltenders. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, the top name here at 46% rostered. Philip Grubauer still at 28% rostered. Honestly, I don't know if we can conclusively say this, but it's starting to feel like Grubauer has overtaken Joey Decord for the top netminder there in Seattle. This was a back-to-back start here for him. January 21st, he had the win against the Islanders, gets the next start here against Anaheim. I think Decord is trending towards a drop in most spots, and Grubauer should be the corresponding ad. So, yeah, that's something to watch for sure. Joel Hofer as the only viable goaltender in St. Louis. Yaroslav Askarov has dipped below 50% rostered. I don't think you have to rush out and grab Askarov, but I do think that there's probably a scenario where it plays out over the last part of the year where Nedeljkovic takes another downturn and Askarov gets some volume again. So I just want to keep him on this list for that reason. Connor Ingram I have here just because he's been good, and I want to shout out Connor Ingram. Long road back to the NHL, playing for a good team and doing stuff. So I don't know what the split is going to be exactly with Jerry moving forward, but I want to shout out Connor Ingram. Montreal tandem, Montembeault and Dobish, they've kind of been splitting starts-ish the last little bit. But, I mean, Montreal's a good team. You want to have a look at that net and at least keep an eye on what's happening and potentially move on it if you need to. Sub 25% rostered, there's really not much. This is actually, I would say, one of the more barren weeks when looking at this that I've had in the last little bit. So, yeah, honestly, not too much that I'm excited about. I mean, Jonathan Quick's still probably going to get some volume there for the Rangers, although Spencer Martin got a couple of starts. That obviously went as well as we thought it might. So, I don't know. I'm not recommending that you pick up Jonathan Quick, but he is available, and he's probably more likely than not going to get a fair bit of volume with Shesterkin out.
I think we need to turn that volume down. My God. I do want to shout out Connor Ingram. I think that Connor Ingram might have a chance at taking the 1A at the very least in Edmonton. Just like Jari's last game, man, he got shelled. I just think Ingram has been really solid since coming up, and he's fighting for his job, and he's also kind of been at that low, where he's had to work his way back up. So I think he really kind of appreciates what he's got going on here. And like you said, he's playing for a great team, and I think Ingram could really surprise people, and it wouldn't surprise me if he's the true 1A by the end of the year.
All right, there you have it. I don't think we have anything else to talk about, do we, Blake?
Ooh! Yeah, good thing it's not a head-to-head streamer deathmatch for real, all right? Because we'd lose a beloved fantasy hockey pundit in Nathan Grutniblik. I'm smashing him this week with Matt Zuccarello, the Zucchini Man. Yeah, I mean, Burakovsky missed a game, but Jimmy cracked corn, and I don't care. Zucchini Man's popping the hell off, as he should. 22%. What the hell are we doing out here? Get this man on your squad and do it now.
Yeah, nothing to add there. Burakovsky missed a game, but it wouldn't have mattered. Zuccarello was having a terrific week and was absolutely the right ad for you there. Moving ahead, we have to make some picks for next week. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is with the Columbus Blue Jackets, and I'm going to take Mason Marchment here as the sub 25% rostered player with 4 games next week that I'm the most into. And over to you, Blake. Who you got?
Yep. No, I love the Marchman pick. I think, he was playing great before he got injured there in Columbus. So it makes sense, but it's not the correct pick, Nathan. The correct pick is Big Cozy. Andrei Kuzmenko, 5% rostered, folks. We're going with the deep cut here. Best head of hair in the biz, dipping the banana in the Pepsi, swallowing it whole, straight down the gullet, right? Gets out there, and he's going to pop for some power play points for me, and I'm excited. I'm taking the volume with Kuzi.
All right, the 5 games played for Kuzmenko versus the 4 for Marchment. We will see how it goes next week. Well, we've made it to the end of this one. If you liked what you heard, you should probably click the link in the description. Join the Discord community. Come talk fantasy hockey with 2,000 other fantasy hockey managers. While you're here, if you wouldn't mind, like, rate, review, subscribe, comment, whatever you're able to do there. We really do appreciate it. But that is going to be all that we've got for this episode. So hopefully it brought you some value, helped you get a little bit better at fantasy hockey today. All the advanced stats you heard today came from Natural Stat Trick and 18 Skaters. Many thanks to Matt Creamer for supplying the music for the podcast. That's it, folks. Much love.